Hello my nerdlings, if you're new here, my name is Nikki. Welcome to my channel where we get nerdy. Today, we're going to talk about Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, okay? And some predictions for Onyx Storm. So, this is going to be spoiler filled. If you have not read Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, do not watch this video. I love you. I really do, but I don't want to spoil anything for you if you intend to read it. If you have zero intentions of reading it, stay tuned. You can just hear what my crazy thoughts have been. Okay? So, I'll give you a couple seconds to click off the video. Okay, you had a couple seconds. How do I want to start this? So Onyx Storm, Book 3 in the Empyrean series, comes out on January 21st. I avoid all news articles and all sneak peeks and all bonus chapters that Rebecca Yarros puts out beforehand because I don't want to spoil something for myself. Because I'm one of those that will read too much into something and make my mind spin, and I don't want to do that. So, anyways, Fourth Wing is about Violet Sorrengail and her mother saying, you're going to the War College versus going into the historian part of the college. You're going to go be a dragon rider. You're going to either die or survive. It's not going to be you're going to be a historian and you're going to hide in a fucking library, basically is what Lilith Sorrengail says to her daughter. Okay? We find out that Violet has two siblings, Brennan, who's dead, and Mira, who is a very decorated dragon rider. Okay? And then Mira says, when you get across the parapet, because of course it can't be easy to get to this school. You have to cross a parapet that is 250 feet tall, if I'm remembering correctly. All right, so a catwalk between one side of the building and the other that's 250 feet in the air and 18 inches wide. So about that wide, okay? And it's fucking raining on the day that they have to do this, right? So she has to cross the parapet. Mira says, once you cross the parapet, find Dane. Dane is her childhood friend. So she's like, okay, I can do that. She gets to the top of the stairs, sees Zayden Ryerson, who she's like, he's deviously good looking, devilishly good looking, whatever. He's hot, okay? Violet thinks he is smoking. But knows to be careful because Zayden is what they call a marked one. So Zayden's dad and a group of rebels tried to form a rebellion against the rest of the military years ago because they wanted to see some change in some certain things. And the children of those people were forced to watch them be executed. But they also have these markings going up their arms from the dragon of the commanding general, General Melgren's dragon, had to punish these children somehow, and so it caused this marking of them. All right, just keep that in mind. So he's considered a marked one, and Lilith Sorrengail killed his father. He watched her kill his father. But Zayden's dad, the guy that head of this rebellion, killed Brennan, her brother. So there's just a shit ton of drama, right? She gets to the top. He can be good looking, but I can't like him because he's a bad guy, right? She gets across the parapet, finds Dane. And Dane's like, you're going to, get put in my squad. Just kidding, Zayden Ryerson, because he's the wing leader, he is the commanding, he's one of the higher officers in the school. He says, just kidding, your section is coming to fourth wing, and this section's going to second wing. So now Dane and Violet are underneath Xaden Ryerson. Okay? That's the basis of it. Violet has a condition called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, meaning she has problems with her joints and the connective tissue in her body, so she's hypermobile. She is extra bendy, which you would think is fantastic, but it's not, because it just causes a lot of joint problems. So sparring is rough for her. So she decides to poison everybody that she's going to spar against in various ways. Xaden figures out she does, and he's like, good on you for figuring out that little tidbit. And then threshing happens. Threshing is when you have a dragon pick you, and if you don't impress the dragons, or if they just don't like you for whatever reason, they will scorch you where you stand. They will set you on fire, you die, you're gone, right? So first you have to parade in front of the dragons and like present yourself to them. And then the following day, all the dragons show up in this field, and think of like a really big field, like Hunger Games-esque, under the dome part, like big field. All these dragons show up, and then you just walk around, and if you see a dragon and they are okay with your bond, they bond with you. If they don't like your bond, they either fly away or they scorch the ground you walk on. Okay? What happens, though, is this feather tail shows up, which is a rare type of dragon. Usually they have like Morningstar tails, dagger tails. There's like all kinds of different type of tails. A feather tail is very rare, and it's a small dragon compared to the rest. So these three guys are like, we got to take out the weakling. So they went to go kill the feather tail, and Violet's like, no, I can't let them. So she confronts them. One of them runs away because he's a puss. One of them charges at her, and she stabs him quite a few times. And then a dragon shows up to protect Violet and the feather tail and scorches him where he stands. All of this time, Xaden is standing off to the side with his dragon, Sigale. We love Sigale. She's sassy. Sigale watching. Next thing you know, this dragon's talking to Violet, and he says he's bonding her. His name is Tarn, or Tarnanok. And then the little feather tail that is golden, her name is Andarna, or Andarna Nurum, or something like that. I'm terrible with the pronunciations. So she climbs on Tarn's back, goes for a flight around the skies, and then Tarn is a show-off, okay? He is very much I'm better than everybody, I don't care. And I'm gonna make everyone know that you just bonded the biggest, baddest bitch here. Except he's not a bitch. He's just very curmudgeon-y. And then they fly back to the school, and they're at the school, and she has to give the name of the dragon that bonded her to the scribes, to the historians. And when she reports that she has bonded Tarn and Andarna, there's a huge uproar, because you can't have two dragons. Too fucking bad. Tarn said, fuck you. I'm gonna. Well, Violet's gonna. And then you find out that the bond with the dragons is like a telepathic thing. So, like, you can talk to them without saying words. But Sigale is Tarn's mate. So Tarn can talk to Sigale, Violet can talk to Sigale, and because Xaden is bonded to Sigale, Violet can talk to Xaden without actually saying words. I know, it's really weird. But anyways, so they're all bonded. Just over time, enemies become lovers, right? And then there's war games, which war games is kind of like, this is supposed to be a fun event at the end of the school year that they do with their dragons and whatnot. Violet, while trying to save a friend, Um, ends up knocking down the side of a mountain on Jack fucking Barlow. We don't like Jack Barlow. He's the puss that ran at Threshing, and he has had it out for Violet for a long fucking time. Like, literally Parapet. On Parapet, he wanted to get to her so he could snap her neck. Like, he's had it out for her. And when they went sparring against each other, she poisoned him with oranges because he's allergic. Right? Fantastic. Like, great way to weaken your enemy. He went into anaphylaxis shock. It was great. Anyways, Jack fucking Barlow. She drops the side of a mountain on him. She saves Liam. Things are fantastic. Right? And like, her and Xaden are finally in a happy little relationship. Things are great. We're all happy. We get a happy ending. Rebecca Yarrow says, just kidding, we still have a couple more chapters. So while Violet and Xaden are having some time together, there is supposedly War Games isn't over. So they get sent to this outpost called Resin. And in this world, when you bond a dragon, you get a special power. It can be anything. It can be erasing people's memories, being a ice wielder, being a fire wielder, like lightning wielder, shadows. You can reverse other people's signets. That's what they're called. The powers are called signets. There's all kinds of them. Anyways, back to what I was saying. So they get to Resin, right? And it basically says, Xaden, we know what you marked ones have been doing. You have been trying to help the enemy, which are Griffin riders. You've been supplying them with weapons. So you can either help this village when that's going to be under attack, or you can go the rest of the way to, I think it's Athbean, and participate in War Games. Those are your two options. And as they're there, you see these things coming at them that are not Griffin riders, and they're called Venin. Venin are the bad guys. They suck. Think like the Death Eaters in Harry Potter, but like kind of like Dementors at the same time. Like how Dementors would suck your life out of you. Venin suck the magic out of everything and life out of things. So there's this big old battle going on. Violet ends up stabbed and poisoned. And Xaden takes her to Erasia, which that is where Xaden is from. Like, typically, that is his home kingdom, is called Erasia. And Violet's in a coma. You don't know what's happening. Eventually, she wakes up. And Xaden says, you're in Erasia. And she's like, I thought this place was burned down. He's like, we're rebuilding. She's like, how do you rebuild without them knowing? Because, like, Melgren supposedly can, like, see his signet is that he can see the outcome of any war. Fun fact, Melgren can't see the marked ones if they're in groups bigger than 3. So you have all these marked ones rebuilding this area, and he can't tell. Fantastic, isn't it? Anyways, so they're rebuilding Erasia. And then Violet stands there and says, Xaden says, I know better poison masters than you. And he saved your life. And then in walks who? Fucking Brennan. Her brother. Not dead. Just kidding. Anyways, that's how that book ends. We start Iron Flame. That was all Fourth Wing, and I just skipped a bunch of it too. We start Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and they're in Erasia. And Violet's trying to prove to the Erasian people that she is on their side with this revolution they're planning. She's trying to figure out what the fuck Brennan's been doing the past, 6 years that he's supposedly been dead. So she's learning all this stuff because she thought Venin were a thing of folklore. And they're not. Venin also have wyvern. Difference between a wyvern and a dragon. Dragon have 4 legs. Wyvern have 2 legs. Anyways. So, that's what we know so far. Okay? They're like, we have to get back to Basgiath, or they're gonna think we deserted, or that we're dead, or whatever. So, they show up at Basgiath War College. The marked ones that lived, because there were 2 casualties. The marked ones that lived and Violet show up at Basgiath as they read their name on the death scroll. And they're like, well, this is interesting. Here's all of them. Oh, hold on. My light went out. Okay, sorry. So, that's interesting, right? They show up there, and Dane, remember the best friend from growing up? His signet is that he can read people's memories. So, wonder how the frickin' bigwigs found out about the fact the marked ones were helping the Griffin Riders. Wonder how, you know? But anyways, I digress. So they show up, and Xaden's trying to read her memories, and Violet's like, get the fuck away from me or I'm gonna cut your hands off, kind of thing. And then she tells Taryn, let them all see the memories, and shows them them getting set up by Dane's dad, nonetheless, getting set up. And they're like, are we liars now? And Dane's dad gets in trouble. He ends up sending assassins after Violet. And then there's this really dickhead professor that shows up in the story called Varish. Varish can catch these fucking hands. I'm gonna tell you what. Anyways, so Violet's in her 2nd year now. She's learning different things. She's learning how to control her signet, which her signet's lightning. She can wield lightning. And there's this question on if Violet will have 2 signets because she has 2 dragons, right? I would think she would, but Andarna is also considered a baby. They don't realize Feathertails are the babies. They're baby dragons. So we find out as we're reading that one of the classes that they're doing is interrogation techniques. So like you legit get locked up and tortured and to see if you tell your secret. Okay? But also, we know that because Taryn and Sigale are mated pairs, they can't go longer than 7 days apart or it legit causes them physical pain. So, there's a lot of flying back and forth for Xaden and Violet between Xaden's post and the school so that Taryn and Sigale can try and make dragon babies. Violet, of course, is having issues trusting Xaden because she's upset that Xaden didn't trust her with the fact that he was helping the Griffin Riders and that Venom were a real thing. She's also having a hard time trusting Xaden because Xaden not only can shadow wield, he's definitely a shadow daddy, we love him, but he's also an intrinsic. An intrinsic is a type of signet that will get you killed. It's like a mind reading signet. You're not like, you have that, you're done. Well, his type of intrinsic is that he can read people's intentions, so he knows if they're like, he can feel if they're going to do something bad or if they're going to do something good. And he lied to her, and she's not happy about that at all. So he's been able to like get in her head even before they fucking were bonded. But anyways, I digress. So they're going throughout the school year. They're doing these classes. Everything is fine until Major Varish, like, he's on some fucking trip and decides to take Violet and lock her up for like a week. Yeah, you heard that, a week. And torture her and try to get information out of her about Xaden helping the Griffins because he doesn't believe that they still don't help the Griffins, right? And I'm skipping over a lot of key points in that story because I don't want to completely ruin it for you. But if you know about, what is it, Tyrandor? I think that's the name of the place. There's just, okay. And then Cat, and then the Griffin Riders, and so Varish is on this warpath, locks her up, and actually gets Nolan, who is a healer, to keep healing her so he can keep breaking her. And then eventually Xaden comes and saves the day, gets her out, and when he sees her, she asks him, how many people did you kill? He's like, all of them. He didn't give a flying fuck. And then Venin decide to attack Basgiath. And around Basgiath and the surrounding towns, think of it kind of like a dome, like the Under the Dome by Stephen King. There's a dome, and these wards are throughout the area surrounding it, and they protect the area from Venin and Wyvern. But also, Griffin Riders have no powers when they're under the wards. So a bunch of Griffin Riders come with them to Basgiath and are trying to help with everything going on. The wards fall. Because guess who didn't fucking die underneath that mountain? Jack motherfucking Barlow. Okay? No, Nolan has been made this entire time to heal him and try and bring him back from the dead. Yeah, not happy. Anyways, Jack brings down the wards because guess who fucking turned Venin? Jack. So, Jack brings down the wards. Violet gets the wards back up because she's been studying on how they could get the ward stone in Eratia functioning. So she learned how to bring the wards up when they were in Basgiath. She's like, we'll bring them up here. Like, this is the only chance we have. So she brings them up, and, you know, everything you think is fine. Except to turn Venin, if you're not originally a Venin, it's you pull magic from the source, which is essentially the ground. Xaden has turned Venin at the end of Iron Flame, and that's how it ends. So, yeah. Now, theories. Okay, first one. All the marked ones have 2 signets. Because in Fourth Wing, Liam, we love Liam, he's a soft boy, he not only has far sight, so he can see far distances, think of like binoculars, but during the fight at Resin, he's wielding ice. But then, okay, also in Fourth Wing, Imogen, who's a marked one, she's a second year, is sparring Violet. She's using her powers. They don't say what her powers are, just she's using her powers. But then in Iron Flame, she admits that her signet is being able to wipe people's memories in the short term. So, okay. And then we know Xaden has 2 signets, the fact that he can shadow wield and he's an intrinsic. So I'm starting to think all marked ones have 2 signets. That's one of my big ones. That's one of my biggest theories. Second thing is Violet's got to have 2 signets because of the 2 dragons. And there's this whole debate as to what what the second signet is. Is it she can control gravity? Can she stop time? Is she a truth sayer, which is a type of intrinsic, which makes people tell the truth when she talks to them? Is she able to commune with the dead? Like, all kinds of stuff. I have no fucking clue what she is. I gave up trying to figure it out. Rebecca will tell me when she's ready to tell me. And then also there's a theory. So Violet has brown hair, except this lower part of her hair is silver. Okay? She's got longer hair than me, but just pretend. Her hair's silver. No matter how much she cuts it, the bottom part of her hair is always silver. And they also talk about Lilith Sorrengail being sick during her pregnancy with Violet. And then there's an instance where Lilith comes back from a battle and Violet says something about her mother looking like a Venin because she's got these, like, her eye color, and like they play it off that she has bloodshot eyes from being awake during battle, but the way Violet sees it as a kid, she's convinced her mother's a Venin. Because remember, she was convinced that Venin are just folklore. But as a little kid, she doesn't know. Like, you hear horror stories about venom that are going to come steal you out of your bed if you don't eat your vegetables, she's going to start questioning, right? So there's a theory going around the fandom as well that Lilith Sorrengail actually turned venom when she was pregnant with Violet, and that's why her hair is silver. And that they have a cure for venoms, but they're hiding it. Also, we find out that Naolin, Tarn's previous rider, died trying to save Brennan during the war, during the rebellion. But we find there's questions, right? There's a lot of questions to be had because Brennan's obviously not dead. So did Naolin really burn out? Burnout is like when you take your signet use to the extreme and you just die of exhaustion, right? You burn out. Or did Naolin try to revive Brennan so much that he pulled from the source and turned venom? So there's another question on, is he a venom? And there's also a theory that Brennan and Naolin were lovers, and that's why Naolin couldn't just let him go. What else is there for theories? I can't remember. Those are my big theories right now. Is Lilith Sorrengail had turned venom at one point, and that's why Violet's hair is the way it is. That Brennan and Naolin were lovers, and that Naolin is actually a venom. He didn't burn out. That all marked ones have 2 signets. That Violet has a second signet, we just don't know what it is. And then, what was my other theory? I had 5. Frig. What was my last theory? I can't remember. I'll think of it probably as I'm talking some more. So, I love this world. Rebecca Yarros wrote this world in a way that it's like a gateway into fantasy for non-traditional fantasy readers. It's digestible. The magic system is easy to understand. I remember my other theory. Okay, so there's 6 dragon dens. Like, there's 6 types of dragons. And Darna is a special type of dragon den that has... And that's going to play a big role. And Darna being the 7th dragon den, that's going to be the big role. That's going to be game-changing. Anyways, back to what I said. Back to what I digress. The magic system's easy to understand. The reading is digestible. There's characters you can relate to. We have person of color rep. We have LGBTQ rep. We have disability rep. It makes my heart happy seeing this, diverse cast of characters. But also at the same time, a common theme is that it takes just one generation to wipe the history books clean. And it takes the following generation just teaching it for everyone to forget about it. Because originally in their books, it was that venom were alive. Venom are a threat. Venom are a genuine concern for us. And they decided once they put up the wards, nope, we're just going to censor all of our books. Venom are no longer a thing. And then that's how it's taught. And then the stories of venom get lost. Except for the ones that are told by mouth in these, small villages, right? So there's this common theme of censorship and a common theme of the government hiding things from you when they think they're doing the right thing when they're really not, right? Because having the wards up and not helping the Griffin Riders, they're letting the Griffin Riders die when they're trying to take down the venom. And they're just turning a blind eye. That's not okay. And it's not okay the fact that you're trying to censor history because of the fact that now your people are finding out that you're letting people die because you're a puss. I digress. What else was I gonna say? Do I have any other theories? I had a really long summary there. There's even more things that happen in those books that I didn't even cover, but that's like short, sweet, to the point. Bits of what happened. I think I also hold the unpopular opinion that Iron Flame is better than Fourth Wing. A lot of people didn't like Iron Flame. They felt it was rushed, that it was not as climactic as Fourth Wing, but Fourth Wing was such action, and not a whole lot of world building and telling you about what's happening amongst things, where Iron Flame was, you're getting more of the history, you're getting more of how the world is working, and there's not as much action, and I'm okay with that. I like the world building. I like being to escape into it, right? We get introduced to some new characters in Iron Flame that we absolutely fall in love with. There's some that we get introduced to that we fucking hate just as much as Jack fucking Barlow. And that's okay. I like how Rebecca Yarros writes it. She has said many a times that there is no book without Xaden. So, obviously, we're going to figure something out to save Xaden from being a Venin. And Rebecca has no problem killing characters, but in the other books I have read, they always end up with a happy ending. So, fingers crossed. Knock on wood. We get a happy ending between Violet and Xaden. And I also think that Violet, studying all those years, because like she grew up studying to be a scribe, right, with her dad before her dad passed away because of, it was like some cardiac event. She grew up in the library studying to be a scribe, learning everything she could possibly fucking learn. And then her mom puts her in Basgiath. And I think, like, her knowledge of stuff has helped her in these first two books, and I think that's just going to prove even more beneficial for her as we move on. Because even Andarna says to her at one point that she picked Violet because she has the mind of a scribe. So I think that's important to keep in mind. Anyways, the book's fantastic. You don't have to have the same opinion. I understand. Like, and you can have problems with it. One of my problems with the book is I feel like her pacing needs to, it could have some tweaks. But other than that, I enjoyed the books thoroughly. Anyways, like the video if you did. Comment down below what your feelings are on the Empyrean series. If you want to give it a, well, hopefully you did not watch this and now have all these spoilers if we get through this and you haven't read it. So even if you did just watch it and said, fuck it, I'm going to watch it anyways and I'm going to be spoiled for it, and now you want to go and read it, go and do it. You will not regret it. Anyways, like it if you did. Comment down below your thoughts, your feelings, your theories. I want to hear them all. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see more. I can't talk right now. It is 9:54 on a Thursday night, and for some reason I felt the need to sit here and talk to you for 35 minutes ish about Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, because I have no one to yap about it to. So anyways, until next time, you are loved and you are valid.